I was going to say kickoff, but it's basketball season. Map discussion. And so while most of you were away, we had the enduring cold that lasted from about Christmas Eve evening through about the 8th of January. We stayed below 15 days. There was a big East Coast winter storm. If you're on the coast, you got to enjoy that. We had the big warm up just the other day. I guess it hit 61 on camera. I hit 59 degrees. And then we had a second cold surge and southern snow, but it's aloft, it's already over. At the surface, we still have some cold air. So we'll look at the weather for the next week or so. Obviously, we've already warmed up aloft, and we're just waiting to get rid of the shallow cold air here. We have a low coming up to our west next week, and then we're kind of in a La Nina pattern, so the winter is kind of what you see is what you get. This is from my house. It's not as pretty as the graphic you have here, but you can see right around Christmas, it turned cold and Christmas Eve, and we stayed below freezing, and then we went above freezing on the 8th, the afternoon of the 8th. But then I got the 59. I guess here at campus, you got the 61 degrees. That was a pretty enduring period of pretty cold air. I went below zero several times. And days we had barely got to 10, and sometimes we got up at 20 degrees. But it was an enduring cold period. And then we got this last little cold period, which is about to end. So here's the pattern. What the pattern looked like from the 0Z on the 25th, 0Z on the 8th, and you can see we had this mean trough, and of course the business end of the trough was out over the ocean, so obviously it was a pretty dry pattern. In the mean, the temperatures of the Great Lakes were minus 20 C over at 850, and unlike a lot of our Arctic outbreaks in recent years that usually lasted 24 to 48 hours, came with a big anticyclone. You see the average sea level pressure for the whole period was 1032 over the central United States, and it's above normal sea level pressure. So we had persistent cold air, and like it wasn't really windy. Usually when you get a lot of times we get Arctic air masses, it's really windy. It wasn't that windy. There were a lot of wind chill advisories and stuff out like that. And then reciprocal water showed we were really, really dry. And here in State College, we had a snow on Christmas, but depending on where you lived, it was about an inch. Then a couple days after Christmas, we had a really fluffy 20-to-1 snow, and then we just had the more recent snow. So it's been pretty dry, except for the one big rain event we had Friday. We had over an inch and a half of rain. This is what North America looked like, and you can see, for the entire period of time, we had above normal heights over the polar regions, and we had cross-polar flow, which of course allowed all the cold air to filter into us. And we had big anticyclones to our northwest. So if you just learn how to forecast the weather, of course, if you have big anticyclones over northwest North America, we tend to be cold in eastern North America. That's pretty good. But it was generally dry and dusty in that period of time. And then on the 4th of January, we had this snowstorm along the coast. Didn't affect us here in State College. I think we had flurries that day. It was like 20 degrees and stuff. I tragically went to Blue Knob that day. It was 9 degrees. It was brutal. But it was, and it snowed. Nothing on radar, but it snowed the whole time I was there. But you can see there's a really deep low off the coast. So if I know that Jake was in Connecticut. Anybody else on the East Coast? People who were like from New York to about Boston got a nice snowfall. So it was a pretty deep low. It looks like in the CFS it got down to a -5 standard deviations below normal. And then you can see this. Gooby likes to talk to me. Strong easterly jet, but it was focused right along the coast. 6 sigma easterly winds. That's pretty impressive. I know they had like near blizzard conditions in Connecticut along the coast. It was a pretty impressive storm, but it missed us. And then, of course, then we had the cold eroded, and then we got the big warm up, and we went way above normal. So like Thursday and Friday last week, we got really warm aloft. I guess it was still pretty chilly, I guess, relatively speaking, on Thursday, but Friday it really got warm here. And then towards the end of the period, this is Friday afternoon, you can see it was a really, really sharp cold front headed our way. And so this was forecast from the GEFS. I tried to actually do the start of the cold event, see the timing of the cold front. And if anybody has, I don't have the data. My machine went down over Christmas, and I'm missing like 3 days of data. I spent all day yesterday trying to find a repository of GEFS 1 degree data for the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. But the timing of the cold front was really interesting with the enduring cold on the 24th, 25th. It'd be interesting to see. If anybody knows where you can get the GFS data, let me know. But this was this was the GFS at the end of December through the 8th of January, trying to figure out when it's going to get warm. I don't know what version of this talk. I made 3 different time periods. This was the morning of the 8th, but there was indications by the end of December that we were going to warm up around the 7th through the 9th of January. And you can see in the beginning there was a lot of uncertainty, but there were a lot of really warm members, but there was a lot of uncertainty. And then it came up it was saying it's going to be pretty darn warm, and then it cooled off, and then it kind of honed in on the warmth. The 18Z data would have been a little better. I don't know if it's in this. No, there were 2 other slides, but I shared this with him, and he grabbed the version before I finished it. I was working on this all morning. So anyway, this shows what the Arctic blast that came through recently looked like, and it came through and got us really cold, and this is like the last of the really creme de la creme of cold air in North America. There's nothing else left. We'll see if it reloads later in the month. So this shows our coming weather. You can see we started out, this is the 6Z GFS. We start out like around 10 degrees or so this morning, and we're obviously going to warm up this weekend into Monday. There's some uncertainty with how warm it could get, upper 40s. If you looked at forecasts about 3 days ago, some models were forecasting temperatures here in the 50s. And you can already see that at 850, we're pretty much going above zero right now. And we're going to stay close to above zero through probably Monday, Tuesday. Just the shallow cold air is keeping us cold. It was like 20 degrees when I came in. But even at 700, we're supposed to go, if I can get the mouse, above zero at 700 tomorrow. Now this, on the other side, this is the European Center's 0Z forecast, box and whiskers showing. The upper panel shows the high temperatures. You can see we're supposed to have a prolonged period. They don't actually show the cold that this model shows. I've noticed, I'm leery of these graphics actually the more I look at them. But sometimes they look good, sometimes they don't. But basically, both of the forecast systems suggest we're in for a warm episode. I don't understand why this point for State College says we're going to stay so warm, but it looks like we're going to get pretty chilly next week. Keep having to kill this GUI.
They're right.
What's that?
It's the third choice.
Next third choice? Oh, I'm just killing it.
Next time.
Okay, next time. So this was the 6Z GFS, and you see, it's got, spits out little amounts of precipitation, but it doesn't show anything significant until Monday, Tuesday next week. And clearly, it comes at the tail end of the warm-up with a cold front coming, and it's going to rain. So any snow we have here is going to be gone. And so I'll have to cross-country ski when I go home this evening. Otherwise, I'm not going to cross-country. It's going to be gone. But the storm's going to pass to our west. There have been hints, like the storm we had on Friday, that at the end we might get some snow, but it probably won't amount to much like it did on Saturday. And there's some hints in some models, and I guess somebody told me the CMC is more robust, that there might be a clipper in northwest flow sometime later next week that could give us a little bit light snow. Nothing to get excited about. Seems like we're in a classic La Nina pattern. All those storms that are of significance tend to pass to our west, and that's not good for snow here. So this is the pattern this morning, and you can see above normal heights to our hit the third choice. All right. I was just trying to get rid of it. Made more work for myself. And you can see most of Western North America has been flooded with warm air. And as long as we have a strong flow off the west coast pushing Pacific air into North America, we're pretty much going to lose our cold. And then this shows the forecast for Sunday. You can see our heights are way above normal. There's a trough in the west. And the 850 temperatures are way above normal. This is the NAIF, so this is like 52 ensemble members showing. Pretty warm this weekend. How warm it's at the surface, another thing. And then this just shows the progression as this warm episode ends. This is the GEFS showing, of course, it's smooth. It's probably going to be a much deeper low than this if you look at a single model. There's some pretty deep solutions. But a low is going to track to the west, so we're going to warm up. We might not be that wet because the forcing may not be that great with it, but we're going to probably be somewhere between 8 and 5 Celsius at 850. Obviously, there's some hints of some cold air damming. And most of the significant, this is the half-inch contour in 24 hours. Most of the significant QPF, of course, is back over the lakes close to the low. And we probably won't get any significant QPF until the front comes. And then the end of the month, we're back in this kind of trough pattern that we've been in for the last 3 weeks, except there's not a lot of cold air in North America. So we'll be like kind of normal cold. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So the latest Arctic outbreak is ending. We have a relatively warm weekend coming up. The storm passes to our west for rain early next week, cold behind it. There's a mean trough setting up later in the month. We got lots of winter to come. This is the CFS SST forecasts, and you can see we're kind of like about, I'm not good with this. I must have hit that. We're kind of like around a half, minus a half, cold in the NIA 3 or 4 region. So I guess you probably could call that almost ENSO neutral, a weak La Nina. And then this is the forecast. They're calling for it to be cold in northwest North America. We're on the edge of warmth. Of course, everybody down here, they want that to get orange because they've been cold. They just had another second snow event in the last 40 days, which is kind of rare for them down in the southeast. And the QPF, the forecast from the CFS suggests we're just on the northern edge of what would be wet. With the La Nina, you think the wet would be further to the west, but kind of not a great pattern. This is from February through April, but so far the winter hasn't been well forecast. So I'll go to some more relevantly new data. So we'll look at the progression in the GEFS. This is the latest plume diagram for State College from the 12Z model. Kind of shows the same thing. We're warming up. Our peak warmth is probably going to be sometime end of the week and early next week. There's some disagreement whether we'll be in the upper 40s or low 40s, and then we cool off. Nothing great shakes there. But if we switch to precipitation, again, kind of shows the same thing the 60 showed, is some timing issues and stuff, but basically sometime between the 22nd, definitely on the 23rd, we're going to have a fairly significant QPF event. If you've been following this over the course of the last 3 days, it was forecasting like an inch and a half event. Now it's down to like, it looks like maybe a ½ inch to 3/4 inch event. And it looks like it could end as some snow behind it, but I wouldn't get excited about it. And there's some implications that there could be a weak wave that comes by a couple days later, give us some light snow. This has not been a winter for snow lovers. So this is the evolution in the GEFS. Will focus on the eastern United States here. Go back to the beginning. I had a snow image I was going to go to, but I got a little bit behind. So let's see if I can get a little higher. So you can see the high pressure to our south, where that dome of cold air brought all that really nice cold air to the south. The low that was responsible for some of the southern snow is well off the coast now, and these arrows are not advancing. I guess. Let me see. I was trying to advance this without.
The computer's also pretty slow.
Yeah, usually you can hit the arrows in advance, and I can't advance because I can't see the. Is there a way to make the size of this smaller so I can see the whole GUI?
Yeah.
So there's three things about desktops. So we can see the storm goes away, the high pressure kind of drifts offshore. We open up to southerly flow, and then a fairly nice low goes up to the west of us. This is by Tuesday, and then the cold front comes through during the day right now on Tuesday, potentially, and a lot of uncertainty in the spaghetti spots full of spaghetti. And then we get high pressure again. But the key thing is there's no big winter storms in our offing. I'm going to guess that the NAIFs came in while we were talking. Let's see if the NAIFs, 12Z NAIFs came in. No, it did not. Oh, maybe, let's see. 12Z NAIFs came in. So we'll see if the NAIFs, this is just kind of shows the pattern. You can see above normal heights come over us. We get pretty warm. A weak trough comes through, nothing spectacular. Kind of like normal cold. Looks like we warm up again next. We got warm weekends. Who can ask for anything more, right? Go out and cut the grass, right? And then it looks pretty blah. See if there's any cyclones. Of course, if you look at individual models, it's probably a lot more exciting, isn't it? The Canadian 52 member ensemble shows the same thing. One low goes to our west on Monday time frame, and a big high builds over us, and then a really boring pattern, I guess. So I don't see anything exciting for us, but I guess that's good news if you have to go anywhere. Currently, there's no big snowstorms in our future. Just generally warmer than it's been for the last 3 weeks. Anybody have anything else?
Is the severe thunderstorm warning from last Friday verified?
I don't know. I didn't even hear any thunder.
I didn't see it.
I was driving home from New Hampshire, then I came right through State Colleges. I drove. I never even saw anything that looked impressive. I was in my car, so I didn't really look that well.
I know I stayed outside for a while. There wasn't anything for like a good 20 minutes or so. So I gave up and went inside, and then there was a huge gust. But it was like just a single gust.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, there was a pretty good temperature drop right after 7 o'clock with some pretty good rain, which pushed my rain gauge up to like I guess for a $1.50 for the event. I guess. I think I was at $1.60 here, right?
A little over 2 total.
Oh, on Friday I was on.
Yeah, buck 67.
And then my rain gauge froze at 2 in the morning, quit clicking.
Yeah, I took mine in.
So anyway, so locally, no big snow so far this winter. We've been kind of missing them all. We did have a pretty interesting enduring cold episode. That's probably worthy of examining further. If anybody has a lead on the GEFS, I missed like 3 days of files. I'd like to see how the timing goes. It looked like the fall timing was pretty good after about the 22nd of December that it was going to get cold and stay cold. Then we had the East Coast winter storm that just missed us, and with the big warm up and the second cold episode, which is the last of the Arctic air. I don't see any Arctic air in North America for the next 2 weeks. So, but no big snowstorms in our future. Warm up, maybe some rain, and it looks like this winter could be what you see, what you get. So far, it looks like a more of a classic La Nina winter from the 1970s and 80s, even though it's almost enso neutral. So, any questions or comments? Yes.
Speaking of that big temperature drop, I know I saw an observation somewhere up in northern New York where they dropped 85 degrees around, I think it was 36 or 40 hours. They went from 55 to 30 below.
Now, this past weekend or the weekend before?
Yeah, when we had that big drop off too.
I started going the other way too. I met a person it was minus 26 at his house on I think last Wednesday morning, and it was when I was talking it was 50 degrees. It's like 8 inches of snow went to no snow in about 24 hours. I guess
So obnoxious at that point.
that's pretty normal. I guess really staying really cold for more than about a week or two is pretty hard to do in this part. We don't really realize
That was unusual.
That was about as I called it the enduring cold. You knew it was going to last, but
It was the coldest first 8 days of January on record. For here. Yeah.
it's
For
amazing.
Pittsburgh too, 7.9 was the average, and like the next closest was I think 9.6 or something.
If we could have just bought a snowstorm before it got cold, it would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we couldn't buy one. It's worth looking. It was probably an interesting little case study. Something. Anybody else? No runs, no hits, no errors. Well, thanks for coming. Sorry for the delay.
All right, round of applause for Rich. If no one else has any other questions, next week Tyler Royce from AccuWeather. We will start at 1 p.m. next week. Hold us to that. Thanks again, Rich.
You're welcome.
Oh.